Do not adjust your digital device. What you are about to see and hear may shock and appall you. Join our hosts as they encounter countless thrills, spills, chills, and hilarity as they explore the very weirdest in pop culture. The following media is so strange, so beyond the scope of what is normal, it will make you ask the question, why does this exist?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Why Does This Exist? I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob.
And today we will be talking about the happiest place on Earth and all of the weird rides that entail it. Just to warm you up, we're going to be talking about Disney World, of course. Disney World, Disneyland, all the weird Disney rides. Because, well, you may have noticed that we have not been doing episodes very consistently, and that's because our schedule has been very all over the place because of one thing or another, and our lives are going in crazy directions. So for that, we apologize that we haven't been as tidy as we used to be. Last week we took a brainstorming session, so we actually have all of our episodes planned out through October. So the next like 4 or 5 months should be a doozy. We're going to try to record multiple episodes in a week for the next couple of weeks, just so that we have extra stuff on the back end, so that way just in case we have a bum week where we can't do it or anything, we'll got something in the hopper. But yeah, that's about it. We'll start things off in just a moment. The reason that we came to this Disney conclusion is because you, sir, Rob, you recently went on a trip to Disney World.
Yes.
And I understand that you had a good time for the most part.
Yes.
16 of your children had a wonderful, wonderful time. And so everyone in the family had a glorious adventure, but there are some things in Disney. There are some discrepancies under the new CEO, Bob Chapek, who only knows how to cut costs and doesn't care about fun or happiness because profits.
Yes.
But you did face a few discrepancies, but you did have a good trip. So why don't you tell people just what it's like to go to Disney World in 2022? So all the folks who are going this summertime can just know what they can expect.
Well, I wouldn't recommend going now just because it's the 50th anniversary, so good luck trying to get in anywhere, pretty much, because it's, like, packed. And it was really packed when we went. But the biggest problem, really, is that everything now is, like, through the app, basically. And, like, the app is really badly made. It barely works, basically. So, like, if you get, like, the, first of all, you have to, like, book all the parks now before you even go, and you might not get in. Even if you're staying in a Disney resort, you might not get into the park you want to go to.
Wait, what?
Because you have to book them in advance, otherwise they have a capacity now.
Oh, okay.
So that's one screw up there.
I'm surprised that Florida even has a capacity, because this is the land where COVID never existed.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's what's really messed up. I guess Disney was trying to, like, be a little bit safer, but, like, now it's like every other COVID restriction is pretty much gone. Like, even the staff don't have to wear masks. Some did, but they didn't have to. It wasn't, like, required. Like, there was plenty of staff not wearing masks. So I don't know what that was whole about, that whole booking the park thing. The other thing that was messed up is you have to do, if you get the Lightning Pass now for the rides, which you pretty much have to do, because otherwise you're waiting in line for 100 minutes or more for most of, like, the popular rides. And the really popular ones, like, it's even longer than that. You can get, like, 3-4 hours, for, like, the Star Wars ride, for example, the new Star Wars ride.
Was that good?
It was amazing. But we had to book it, so we booked that ride on the app at 7 o'clock in the morning when the booking started for that day, and we still couldn't get a spot until 7:30 p.m.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's that.
Auction house?
It's just like you have to like. So the way it works now, as I was saying with this lightning pass thing, it used to be if you paid the extra for the lightning pass, you just got on the lightning line, right? And it was just a shorter line that moved faster. So instead of waiting an hour, you would get in the ride in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now the friggin' lightning line, you have to go on the app and book the time you want to go on the ride, and you basically have like an hour. So like you book like 3:30 p.m., but you'll have 3:30 to 4:30, right? But you can't book any other rides until you scan your key for that ride.
Wait, so you can't get on you can't book another ride until you've already gone on the last ride that you booked.
Yes.
So
you can't like plan out your
anything.
Day. Exactly. You can't plan out your day because you don't know what rides are going to be popular and what rides you need to get first. And like there's some we did wait online for some rides like It's a Small World because the line was like 10 minutes long, so that's fine.
I'm surprised it's even that long.
Well, I guess because we'll get to that later in the show. We will get to that.
It must be the tourists who are just like, oh, I heard this is cute. What the hell is this? But
yeah.
So what I'm gathering is you're forced to. It's like, well, how much is a ticket now anyway? Because they've gone up a lot.
So
the time I went was 2018 for the big weekend, which was not cheap. But I don't.
We passed the sign. Because now you can't. I don't even think you could buy tickets at the window anymore. I think you have to do this like book in advance thing. Like you can't even go up to I'm in Orlando for something else. Hey, let's go to Disney World for like the day or something like that. I don't think you can even do that anymore. You have to actually go online and like book your spot in the park, and you might not get it if there's too many people there.
So you need, so in order to enter the happiest place on earth, you have to be technologically advanced. You have money. You have
it's like $120 a day per person.
Is that like for like a poor person ticket, or is that like with the lightning pass?
That's just the lightning pass is $15 extra per person per day.
Wow! So you're pretty much strong armed into getting it with the lightning pass because
essentially, unless you want to wait in line.
Yeah, because you can't get on anything. So you're also otherwise you're confined to waiting in the real line. Not the line. You're not waiting in line. You're waiting in line to wait in line. Other than paying an extra $15, where you're only waiting in line.
Yeah.
Okay. It's way more expensive. It's not good for the technologically unsavvy, which in Florida you might run into quite a bit of those. Not because Floridians are dumb. I would never say that people from Florida are dumb. But there are old people there who just want to go to Disney World for the day, and locals that are just sitting there to have fun in the sun at their local Disneyland, which I remind you is the happiest place on earth.
Well, that's
so there's all these inconveniences that you are paid by as soon as
I will say
you even enter the happiest place on earth.
You mentioned Disney's
everything
new CEO
through the app.
Well, because it was not like this. I've been to Disney now. So this is my third time actually staying in Disney, but I've been to. We were in Orlando, and I was looking at a college at the end of when I was in between junior and senior year of high school. I was in Orlando, and we went to Epcot for a day. But that wasn't we weren't staying in Disney. We weren't there for Disney. We just decided to go to Epcot one day. So I've been fully to Disney 3 times, and my first 2 times were good, were great. The experience was great, and everything was good, and there was no problems. But again, that was years ago. I first went when I was 8, and then I went again when I was 15. So that was years ago now, and things obviously with COVID affected things, but it's stupid that they're now Disney has said that this is just going to be the thing going forward, even barring the COVID restrictions. After COVID is completely done and over with, they're still going to do it this way because
with the capacities and everything.
Yes. Well, I don't know about the capacities at the park, but you'll have to book the park you want to go to in advance, and you have to do the lightning pass the way it is and stuff like that.
Oh,
yeah.
So these are the processes to make having a great time at the happiest place on earth.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So yes, I did mention the new CEO, Bob Chapek. I have not gone to Disney under his regime. I think I've only gone under the latter years of the mid to latter years of the Eisner regime and the Iger regime.
Yes.
Those names sound similar, actually, but they're not. One started out hot, and he kind of blew his wad on everything when he tried to expand. And then Bob Iger was mostly pretty good, and he improved relations with China and got a lot of parks done. So Bob Iger was pretty good, actually. He was one of the better CEOs that they had. Bob Chapek, I do not like him. But yes, as you were going to say about Bob Chapek, the new CEO of the happiest place on earth.
That was it. Like that you could tell that they were cutting corners now.
Oh, yes. Well, he's been doing...
Because they won't...
Sorry, continue.
I was going to say, the amount of money you pay to go there, their friggin' app should be, flawless and not have any issues. And you should have, no problem booking what rides you want to do. And they have to change that system where you can't book, more than one ride. Maybe, add, a limit to how many you can do at once, maybe 3 at once. But let people, plan out a little bit of a day so they can actually go on several rides and not just one at a time.
Right. My mother would hate this because my mother is the person who, every time we've gone to Disney, which has been quite a few, honestly, she's always meticulously planning out the day. Okay, we have to be here by X time because we have a character breakfast, and then we have a character lunch, and then we have a character dinner. Don't you want to meet Mickey and Minnie, Chris? No, Mom, I'm 32 years old. Well, of course we're meeting Mickey. How could we not meet Mickey? Okay, Mom, so this is about you. No, it's for the kids. By the way, at 7:30, you gotta be up bright and early because we have a character breakfast, so get up at 5. I thought we were on vacation. We are on vacation, so could I go to the pool? Well, maybe. You might have 10 minutes to go to the pool, Chris, but then we have a character breakfast. But it's dinner. Yes, it's dinner for breakfast. That's the theme. We're at the Mad Hatter's place. Oh, wonderful. Need I remind you, every time, I think that the Mad Hatter has a grudge against me and hates me in Disney World, because every time that we've gone to a character breakfast where the Mad Hatter is, he has always picked on me for the shirt that I'm wearing. And it's not the same Mad Hatter either. It's different people playing the Mad Hatter. They always manage to pick on me because of the shirt that I'm wearing. The first time, it was a Nirvana shirt, and I think he just went up to me and he just said, "Well, hello there! Are you depressed?" And I said, "No, I'm not depressed. I'm wearing a Nirvana shirt, and I'm in the happiest place on earth. How could I be depressed?" And I don't remember what else happened. It's just been blacked out of my mind because of the trauma. And then the second time, I was wearing a Metallica shirt, and he goes up to me and he says, "Are you made of metal?" And I said, "No, I'm not made of metal. I'm a real boy, just like Pinocchio eventually became. And how could I be made of metal? I'd be melting at the happiest place on earth, where it's 104 degrees in Orlando, Florida.
And 100% humidity.
100% humidity at the happiest place on earth. Nothing gets me going like 104-degree weather and 100% humidity. Oh, and there's gators. Gators. They're trying to eat people. All the time. The happiest place on earth. All right. I've had enough of this. Let's start the goddamn show. We are Why Does This Exist? We are a podcast that talks about the very weirdest in pop culture, whether it's a failed toy, strange amusement park rides like we're going to get to, which this is a first. This is a milestone, if you will. We also talk about movies, video games, like The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which we just did a couple of weeks ago. Please check that out if you'd like to. You can find us on all the big fancy places that you get your podcasts. I'm not going to rattle them off like I usually do because I don't want to waste any more time in your lives because they're so important to me. if you do find us on any of those platforms, like podcast, like podcast. Wow, I'm an idiot. If you want to find us on any of those platforms, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, or Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, all those places, I'm not going to rattle them all off. But if you find us on there, if you're listening to us, please give us a nice rating and a nice review so that more people can find us and we can make money. And money is the greatest thing in the world. Speaking of money, if you want to give us some, you can head on over to patreon.com/whydoesthisexist, and you can donate as little as $1. And you'll be given access to our Discord server where you can yell at us and you can tell us how great we are. You can tell us that we suck and you hate our guts and you want us to get hit by a bus. Hopefully we don't get hit by a bus unless it's at the happiest place on earth where it sings to you. Actually, not really. There's probably just people in Florida who are really hot and sweaty because it's 104 degrees with 100% humidity. But if you would kindly do one of those things for us, either help support the show in one way or another, we would greatly appreciate it. You can also find us on YouTube at the channel Why Does This Exist? And you give us a like, comment, and subscribe on all of our videos and things like that so that we can feed this to more people and we can continue to make money. Because that's what it's all about. You can also email us at whydoesthisexistshow@gmail.com. That's the news. Here's the weather. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge from a ragtag group of rogues. Let's get on with the goddamn show. The Disney rides, the Disney attractions. There's a lot of favorites, but a lot of these are favorites, and a lot of them are very strange, and a lot of them are very weird.
And a lot of them are just, some of them are bad.
Yes, some of them are quite terrible. I will make note, the Haunted Mansion is my favorite ride. We are actually not going to be talking about that on this episode because, although it is very weird and it is very, very near and dear to my heart, we're going to give it its own episode later in the year, probably towards the end of the year, just to send everybody off on a very happy 2022. Hopefully, with all this inflation, maybe we could brighten your day. I don't know. And all these tech cuts and everything else. Maybe we can help brighten your day and lift your spirits around Christmas time. Oh, you know what? That makes actual sense to do instead of doing a Christmas carol like everyone else will do. So we'll talk about the Haunted Mansion, which they also do some very, very, very cool Nightmare Before Christmas things. So we'll do that one in December. So stay tuned, all you happy people. But there are so many timeless and wonderful rides at Disney World and Disneyland and just Disney everywhere. But we have so many of them are weird. And yes. I think that we should just get the most annoying one out of the way to start. Is just It's a Small World.
Yes.
It was this was one of the earlier. This is one of the first rides actually, and it was an opening day attraction.
Yes, it was an opening day attraction at Disneyland too.
For Disney World, and it was it was created for the 1964-1965 World's Fair, and it became a huge hit because Walt Disney was doing this in support of the United Nations Children's Fund, and after 2 seasons at the World's Fair, it got sent over to the Disneyland park, opening in 1966 on the historic day where Walt Disney's famous quote, which now does not apply with all the technological and price gouging advances of Bob Chapek, the genius, who I would never say is an idiot and a really crappy CEO who does not care about people. I would never say such a thing about Bob Chapek, the CEO of Disney. Walt Disney's first his lines were, "To all who come to this happy place, welcome," which is not necessarily the case anymore. But It's a Small World opened up, it was a big hit, and it has since become the bane of many people's existence.
including mine.
Yes, it has been the butt of many jokes, including The Simpsons, where they're running through Itchy and Scratchy Land, and it's actually children who are like from foreign countries shackled.
Oh yeah.
To it because they got off of the ride, so they're shackled to the ride and they're forced to sing.
They did that in Family Guy too. It was the same thing.
Well, I mean, Family Guy just steals jokes from The Simpsons.
Well, yeah, we knew that. I mean,
we already knew that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's. I mean, I could, see. Here's the thing: in 1966, when it first opened, I could see the appeal of it.
Oh,
but they have not changed it since 1966. It's literally the same thing. It's the most boring ride with the most incessant, annoying song you could ever possibly hear. And there's no the most exciting part is the end where you get to the dock and I guess you get out of the water and there's this fast little treadmill thing that shoots you into the loading dock area. Basically, that's the funnest part of the ride because it's the fastest part. Otherwise, you're going so slow and you're just meandering along, listening to this song that never it's like the song that never ends. Basically,
it's probably worse than the song that never ends.
Yeah,
honestly, I think that hell for some people is just being stuck on the ride.
Yes.
Ride just breaks down and you're stuck listening to the song for hours. This is if I died and my eternal and I knew that I was going to hell, if there is a hell, I'm pretty sure that my eternal punishment would probably be something like being stuck on It's a Small World After All for eternity.
Yeah.
It's I can't see anything worse. Honestly, any other form of torture is probably what they did to Hitler and Little Nicky probably has nothing on being stuck in a small world for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I shudder. I shudder to think. I'll take the pineapple. But I do not like It's a Small World.
It's bad.
The song is just annoying, and on top of that, it's just like you said, they have never once updated this ride at all. Not even to the point where they would even just update the tracks to have a dubstep or synth pop remix, just to change it up a little bit.
I'm pretty sure it's the same recording from 1966. They would even the song. It's they're using a friggin' a record that's blasting through these speakers because the sound quality is just so bad.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. Yeah. So the song is it was so Academy Award winning brothers Richard and Robert Sherman. They did the Mary Poppins music, and he asked them to create a single song that could be sung by audio animatronic figures in multiple languages, and they went ahead and did that. And they also have Mary Blair Flair. Cool name, by the way. She was one of the early designers at Disney, and I guess you could say she was one of the first Imagineers before that term was even a term. And she designed all of the children's she designed all of the art and the shapes and all of the colors, and she designed the whole ride basically. And this was also one of the few times, it being in the early 60s and early to late 60s or whatever, when they were designing this thing, they, most women did not have regular jobs, whether they wanted work or not. They just, it was a man's world. And to his credit, Walt Disney gave a lot of women, opportunity that they wouldn't have never had. And Mary Blair Flair is a legend in Disney World because she was just a wonderful designer. So there are good things about It's a Small World, but for the most part, I hate that goddamn ride.
Yeah, me too. It's just not fun.
No, it's not fun for anyone. How did
It's fun for, I guess, a little child.
How did
that just likes the lights.
Did any of your 37 children enjoy that ride?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but that's who it's designed for is a young child. Like I said, it's not for adults. I don't know. Even when I was 8, though, I hated it. Like, I wanted to go on it because it was just a ride. And, like, I went with my grandfather when I was 8. And I'm like, so I, like, begged him to go on it. And, like, we went, and I was like, wow, this is actually really lame. I thought it was actually going to be cool because before that, we had already gone to Pirates of the Caribbean. So I was expecting something like that. And it was, like, not. It was way worse.
No, not at all. Well, speaking of Pirates of the Caribbean, let's move on.
Yes.
Get the hell out of a small world. Otherwise, we're going to get caught in a loop. And this podcast is going to be 4 hours of It's a Small World.
Oh, God. That's what they have to. That's what they get. They have to experience it just as we've experienced it.
You know, that would be some great interrogation for, like, war criminals. You just shut
yes.
Small World.
Yeah. Like, make them ride it, like Mr. Bones' Wild Ride.
Oh, my, Mr. Toad?
No, Mr. Bones' Wild Ride. So for those who don't know...
I don't know what this is.
This was a meme that someone did. So basically, they were playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, and they made a ride called Mr. Bones' Wild Ride. That was a long track where the carts went 2 miles per hour.
Oh, no.
The ride took over an hour of real time, which in-game was like a year of time.
Oh, my God.
After riders got off of it, they went on the exit ramp, looped back into the entrance ramp, and there was no way to get out. You just looped back and got back on the ride again.
It's amazing. That would murder people in real life. But if you're stupid to do that, to get off and then go back on, because you must be really disoriented. Like, that is torture. These poor in-game people.
It's almost like a roller coaster tycoon version of Plato's allegory of the cave. And it's hilarious too because he included a screenshot of all the and remember in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 you could actually see your guests' like reactions to things, and every single guest was, "I want to get off Mr. Bones' Wild Ride."
That's so great.
So, yes, Mr. Bones' Wild Ride exists. It's called It's a Small World. And I want to get off of it. Moving on.
Yes, moving on.
Pirates of the Caribbean is my favorite ride at Disney World. And, although, I will say, the Star Wars ride was pretty good. That's, like, now up there. It's competing with Pirates of the Caribbean. It was a really good ride. But Pirates of the Caribbean, so I've seen now every iteration of it. Like I said, I went 3 different times in my life in 3 different like periods. So the first time I went to Disney World, it was before Pirates of the Caribbean was a movie. So the ride was just as it was all the original stuff. The second time I went to Disney World, I think the second movie had come out, or like just come out, if I remember correctly, or was almost out. I don't remember. So they had Jack Sparrow on it, but he was only in like one like section. Like you just see him like pop out of a barrel, right? In the newest version of it, which I just went on recently when I went, is now they have Captain Barbossa like yelling at you about Jack Sparrow and firing. He's like on the ship that fires the cannons before you get into like the pirate town, basically. And Jack is throughout the whole ride. Like he's like stealing from other pirates and popping out of the barrel and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And at the end, you see him and he's like in the vault covered with gold with like a parrot. And I'm pretty sure that Johnny Depp actually voiced Jack on this. I think on the ride. I'm going to look this up because I don't want to like be wrong.
I want to say he did, and they probably shelled out the money. But I mean, but then again, they could also find a pretty good sound alike. I'm sure that they could get like a good.
Well, yeah, they could. I think the guy who did Kingdom Hearts voice of Johnny Depp. He voiced Johnny Depp in Kingdom Hearts. No, he voiced Jack Sparrow in Kingdom Hearts. He sounds pretty close to Johnny Depp, and I know it wasn't Johnny Depp.
So maybe it was the same guy.
Oh, it is Johnny Depp and Jeffrey Rush, who voiced or who was Barbossa, voices Barbossa on the ride too.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, that is great.
Yeah, well, I mean, they updated it because there were not just because it became like a big movie franchise, but also like they had replaced. There were some things that were not really that savory on the ride.
Yes,
they had to they were like, oh crap, this is like now a big HR violation.
Well, the thing is, they didn't do that until very recently.
Oh no, I'm not saying. No, I'm not saying that they did it because of that, but I'm saying that, like, now those things were, like, very problematic.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is, like, it, like, really recent, like, it's been there for a while. They didn't decide to, like, remove it until, like, the last couple of years. And it's, like, pretty... So, I think the scene that you're talking about is where, like, they're auctioning off the wenches to the pirates, basically. Yeah. And they're all tied up. Like...
Yeah, there's that. They're also, like... There's also the pirates constantly, like, you know, lusting after all these women. And the women have now either been replaced with Johnny Depp or with Jack Sparrow doing something else. Or
with it's just Johnny Depp. Let's just call it Johnny Depp.
Yeah, they're just either replaced with Johnny Depp, so now the pirates are either lusting after Johnny Depp or they're or it's like an animal or something like that. They're replaced with something else. But for a long time, it was just like pirates lusting after these women who did not want to be with pirates, or they were being auctioned off. Like, it was basically like they were promoting, like, I don't want to say that they were promoting rape in any way, but it was like...
Well, sex slavery.
It was like, yeah, it was implied that, like, these pirates weren't going, like, these pirates were, like... I'm trying to think of something witty, but I can't. They weren't asking them if they wanted tickets to wrestling. We'll put it that way. Well, no, that doesn't work, because they kind of were. Oh, no. They didn't want to play video games with them. That might be the best thing that I could say. They didn't, they weren't into any, pottery classes that they wanted to, that they wanted to hang out with them. They weren't interested in actually getting to know them, getting to like them. It was it wasn't very good. I mean, although it was historically accurate to pirates, which, you know, that has its own issues.
Well, I mean, people like to forget that pirates weren't like these heroes, that they were literally like murderous thieves.
Yeah, they were not
like kill people and steal their loot. Like, it's not like. I mean, you know, Hollywood has kind of transformed pirates into these, like, oh, they're just harmless hooligans. They're just a ragtag group of rogues.
Yeah, not necessarily.
But they're not that, really.
Yeah,
most like pirates are pretty bad.
Yeah, Hollywood's whole take is just like, oh, the pirates are cool. It's the Vikings that are the problem.
Yeah.
No, pirates were just as bad.
Yeah.
But
I wanted to say, like, I had mentioned they hadn't changed that for, like, a few years. It was 2017 when they took away the wench auction.
Oh, my God.
So, it's, you know, that's pretty cool. That was 5 years ago. It took them until 5 years ago. This ride opened, I was pretty sure opened in Disney World on opening day. It opened a little bit after. It wasn't one of the opening rides.
No,
but still, it was in 1973. It took from 1973 to 2017 to realize that was probably in bad taste.
No, the original ride opened in '67. The Disney World
in Disneyland, yeah, the Magic Kingdom ride opened in '73.
No, yes. The Walt Disney World one opened in '73.
Yeah.
In '67. It opened in Disneyland. This was the last ride whose construction was like this was the last full-on Walt Disney ride. Actually, like he unfortunately didn't live to see it opened up. He oversaw the construction. It was his idea. It was his vision and everything. And he actually died 3 months before the ride opened. But there has been 4 different versions of the ride with a different facade but a similar experience. And they actually have a newer one in 2016 at the Shanghai Disneyland Park. It's called I think it's called Pirates of the Caribbean: Battle for the Sunken Treasure. But Pirates, it's not just like a dark ride where like you're seeing all these crazy excursions of these pirates, you know, raiding the town. I mean, they've gotten like, of course they're all merry, but like they've gotten merrier over time. I mean, also I don't know if it's still in the ride, but like they're also drinking. There's also like beer and stuff during the ride too. I don't know.
It's still there.
Okay. So
there's like bottles of rum and like drunk pirates and stuff. Yeah.
All right. So they're very happy at the happiest place on earth. Yeah. They're as happy as you could possibly get with all their happy juice. How many times can I say happy? Maybe you should count. Don't do a drinking contest. We're not responsible for any problems that could occur through drinking. Legally, we would never advise that you start a drinking game every time we say the word happy on this episode. We would never advise that anyone do that. But the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, it's not just fun. It's not just fun for the whole family, especially now. It's not just a major franchise. It also has another one of the catchiest theme songs in Disney. But unlike Small World, people like this one.
It's actually good.
They love it, and it's very good. It's Yo Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me, which if you don't know that song, you should go on the ride.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much entered like pop culture lexicon. It's just like a pirate song now. It's not just like associated with Pirates of the Caribbean. I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like this is like the pirate theme song at this point. And it was written by George Bruns and Xavier Atencio, who have written many of the classic Disney ride songs, including the. I want to say that they were both involved with the Haunted Mansion's Grim Grinning Ghosts, or at least I believe X was. But don't quote me on that. We'll find out. We'll revisit this when we get to the Haunted Mansion ride episode later this year. But it's a fantastic ride. It's always a lot of fun, and it's always it's just always a treat. And it's interesting because it starts out scary. Like, intentionally started out scary, and then once you go into the log flume, then you're like,
it's like
God,
jovial.
Happen. Yes, exactly. And then it suddenly becomes very, very merry. It's like,
it's almost like friggin' that's a Christmas Carol.
Yeah, kind of.
Because it starts out with him getting visited by with his partner was a Marley or whatever, and who's like a scary ghost rattling chains, and then like you get like the jovial ghost of Christmas Past, who's just like this funny jovial guy. But that's like pirates.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, similar to the Haunted Mansion, this was which I don't want to keep speaking about it when the episode is not really when it's getting its own episode, but I mean, how could you not? We're talking about classic Disney rides. We're like this ride was originally supposed to be like a walk-through wax museum, and because the Small World boat ride concept was very successful, Disney changed his mind and decided to use the same boat ride system for pirates. So it originally was like quite different. And you can actually see the initials of Walt Disney and Roy Disney entwined in the iron railings above the ride's entrance at Disneyland, which is kind of cool. And this is also where we learn about Jean Lafitte, the pirate, who is he crops up quite a bit in Disney lore, where you don't expect it. There's a YouTube channel, which I can't put my finger, Offhand Disneyland, there you go, where he's got a ton of theories about Jean Lafitte and pirates and the Haunted Mansion. So this guy he's quite a Disney catch. It's a great channel to learn about all these crazy things in like all this background Disney lore. Like, he's an encyclopedia. But yeah, we learn about there's a lot of cool things going on in there that I really treasure, and I think it's interesting. No pun intended. I think it's a fun ride. The Haunted Mansion was also supposed to be a walkthrough ride, and they ended up changing it into you getting the dune buggies and it being like a drive-through ride essentially, or more just like a regular dark ride with the darkest dark ride. So it's just kind of fun how, like, some of these rides are conceptualized where they have one original idea and then it changes into the masterpiece that it is. But it's really cool. I always make it a point to ride this ride every time.
Yeah, me too. I've actually I rode it more than once when I was in high school because I love it. It's just a fun ride, you know, and the song is catchy and fun, and you know it's really cool.
Mm. It is very cool. And there's a shootout at the end between the drunk pirates and the captain of the pirate ship.
Well, yeah, who's like Barbossa now.
Yeah, and everything blows up. It's pretty great.
Yeah, it's like it's, you know, it's an action packed enough to like keep you like, you know, interested, but not like super scary. So it's not really like when I was a kid and I went on it, I wasn't scared really. I thought it was awesome. Yeah, you know, so
I mean everybody does. It is very funny. And then of course you have the poor pirates at the end who are all in jail, and the dog is like holding the keys and is like, yeah, I'm just not going to let you out. They were probably mean to the dog, and the dog was like, no, I win. I wonder what I'd like to know the dog story.
Yeah.
Like, where does that thing fit in all this? All right, moving on. Moving on to some other. See, we're getting through some things today, everybody.
Yeah.
We're shucking and jiving. We're moving along. We're getting we're getting a little bit more excited. Some people, there's another word for it. Oh yeah, maybe we're getting a little excited at the happiest place on earth and all of the happy rides going on in there. Anybody who's listening to this show, if you've been listening to the beginning, since the very beginning of the show, you could probably witness and pinpoint the exact moment where my mind bends in two and I lose all of my sanity. So, I don't know, if you think you know, just comment in the YouTube video and just say which episode you think was the one that made me crack. We're about 57 episodes in, so you've got your work cut out for you. But speaking of, speaking of Disney World, Disneyland, they call all the riders Imagineers, and they all use their vivid imaginations. This ride, I believe I'm hoping that it's not going to be discontinued, but I feel like it probably will soon. This is actually one of my favorite rides too. And once I started getting more into Monty Python, just in high school and everything, it became one of my favorites even more because I love Eric Idle. But we're talking about Journey into Imagination with Figment, and I loved Figment as a little kid. I would sing. I had this stupid VHS of all of the. I don't even know where my parents got it, but like they probably sent it when they were trying to like get them to buy a timeshare or something. But like, but they like it was all of these like random Disney rides, and it was all the songs that accompanied them. And my favorite on the tape was the Journey into Imagination with Figment, and it had like a bouncing Figment because that was the thing. It was one of those, you know, in the early 90s, like in 80s and everything. If it was ever like a song thing for like children, they always had like the follow the bouncing ball thing to like show you to like teach you the words and everything and the melody. And it was always a bouncing Figment, and I absolutely adored Figment. He's a little dragon, so maybe that's where my obsession with dragons starts, is with Figment. And maybe that's where I became an imaginative person, which, you know, the other word for that is idiot, but hey, I actually, another really good song composed by the Sherman Brothers, who, again, did the Small World song. There seems to be a pattern with their composers and hits.
Well, I think they were kind of like on retainer with it. These.
Oh, I'm sure.
They were featured in a lot of writing a lot of these songs.
Yeah. Maybe this is where purple becomes one of my favorite colors, too, because Figment is purple. Anyway, imagination is just the color purple in Disney World for some reason. But you're going through all of these, like, little wonders, and the song is called One Little Spark. And I actually like it. Sometimes I warm up to that song when I'm doing, like, when I have to do a voiceover day or something. it's a really really fun ride where where there's like a professor who's Eric Idle, and I mean, it wasn't always Eric Idle. There was a regular professor. There was a different professor in the earlier on, and it has since become. I believe it's since become Eric Idle. But he's like a mad scientist or a professor, just working in his lab because he's trying to just create all these wacky ideas and everything. And you get into this vessel, and he creates, and he's just talking about dreams and like a dream vessel and everything like that. And it was originally the guy who was known as the Dream Finder, who had like a red beard, blue suit, top hat, who was your guide, and now it has since become Eric Idle. But you get in the ride, and there's all these things floating, and you meet Figment, and Figment is like, I'm Figment, I'm the key to your imagination, and whatever you imagine can happen, you just have to imagine it, and then you've got a Figment, and there you go. And the Dream Finder and Eric Idle, they eventually create the Figment of the imagination, which is Figment, and they and off you go. You start heading off throughout the lab and everything, and there's all these crazy things going on. Like bottles are floating, all these science experiments are just happening. Things are spinning around in the air. Just things are appearing and disappearing. There's like smells that enter. It's all this stuff that happens. And you end up, and what you're in is called the Dream Mobile. And Figment is, of course, getting into all kinds of mischief and everything. And it's just a lot of fun. Like, it was one of my favorites, actually. And I'm pretty sure that it has since closed, or it at least is one of the rides on the chopping block. But I love this damn ride so much. And it's just a really fun ride. I mean, they had closed the original one down in '98, but then it became Journey into Your Imagination, which then had gotten Eric Idle. That's the one that I know a little bit more. I have gone on the original, which I loved a lot. They then reimagined it into the Journey into Your Imagination, where we got Eric Idle, and then they since have redone it once again with Eric Idle reprising Dr. Nigel Channing, and it's a lot. It's just this one is more regarding the human senses. The other ones, it's just all these other experiences that you're doing, like in Q movies, or you're going into like various sections of the scientist's house or lab, and like things are flying around and what have you, and just things are happening. But it is another one of my favorite rides, and I love it. I love it very much, even though Figment is like going crazy, and he just causes all this calamity in the lab. Channing stops the ride, and then Figment takes you to Figment's house, where everything is just all over the place. And then Dr. Channing is like, "Oh, you have to let your imagination run wild," and then they keep the song up going and everything. It's a lot of fun, and I love the ride. I can't say enough about it. But yeah, that's another one of the weirder rides, but it's also in the spirit of Disney, is encouraging you to go ahead and be a creative soul. It's important to not lose sight of it in the day where just every day where all this crazy stuff is going on in the world and everything. It's very important to never lose sight of your creativity. It will set you free, which I think is the goal of the ride, and I think that's the message that it's trying to drive home. But it's really nice. It's a good, wholesome family ride. At the happiest place on earth. Any comments on you by that?
I've never ridden the ride, so I have no comment.
Oh my god, it's a great ride. You should definitely go. It's in Epcot.
Yeah.
Which did you go to Epcot at all this time?
Yes.
Or okay.
Yes.
Okay, so you probably just went and checked out the worlds and maybe did test track and ride it.
No, we didn't even do that. We didn't do any rides in Epcot. We only did the worlds, the around the world stuff.
I did like Test Track is a fun one. It's not necessarily the weirdest. I'm not really going to touch on it too much, but the original incarnation was a little bit weirder because it featured the crash test dummies, if anyone remembers those. And you're testing the ride, and it ends with you crashing into a brick wall because it's small. But they moved that.
I never did the test track. I don't know why I didn't do the test track. I don't know if it was like when we went when I was in high school. It was just like there was like too many. Like the wait was too long. I don't remember.
Likely because it is a very hot ride.
Yeah. I've been on the Mexico ride, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is a fun one.
Yeah, the Mexico ride is good because it's like it's completely inside. It's a dark ride, and it's nice and cool. So like, because Epcot I think has the least amount of shade of any of the Disney parks. So you're freaking walking out in the boiling sun, and it's hot in Florida, especially if you go in the summertime or like the spring. So the Mexican ride is a really good place to go and just chill because it's not like a crazy ride. There's no big steep drops. It's like a nice boat ride. It's cool. It's dark, and it's just cool because it's like you're like journeying into like, Aztec Mexico basically, and it's really cool.
I like how all of the Epcot World rides all are focused on the culture. Except the Norway one, which they've now reimagined to be a Frozen ride, but that's fine.
Well,
because before
Frozen does take place in Denmark or something, doesn't it?
I think it's Norway.
Or is it Norway? Yeah, so I mean, technically,
Before that, when it was like the Maelstrom ride, there was like a section on like an oil rig or something because Norway, like it's very oil rich.
Yes.
Actually, its largest its pension fund, which is the largest pension fund in the world, is like a 90% oil-based fund.
Yes, everyone is always likes to point to Scandinavia as look at because they have free healthcare and stuff, and it's like the only reason they have free healthcare is because they have a small population and because the government nationalized the oil industry and basically just took all that money and put it into a fund for everybody. But they're still largely capitalist countries. They just nationalized pretty much one industry, and that paid for it because there's such low populations that it was able to afford it.
Right, with like a heavily dense population like America, it's very difficult to do.
Way more complicated.
And on top of that, you have the politicians that we have, which are as corrupt as can be. We're not going to get into that.
And I'd like to mention they all have free healthcare for life. So
of course they do. Which we're, but again, this is not a political show, so we won't be talking like that. Although, this next ride is very strange in its own right, because not only are there scenes where that do not take place in the animated feature that it's lifted in, it is also, you go to hell. It's a lot of people's favorite rides, actually. You can find it at the original Disneyland Park in Anaheim, California. We are talking about Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. It's based on the Wind in the Willows. It's part of the Disney film The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, which seems like it's a buddy thing between the two of them, but it's actually two separate tales. You have Ichabod Crane, obviously, of the Headless Horseman, Sleepy Hollow story, and then you have Mr. Toad, which is Wind in the Willows, and the ride used to exist in Orlando, Florida, until 1998, where I believe it was replaced with The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This is also a dark ride. Your Mr. Toad, similarly to the Wind in the Willows animated, your Mr. Toad is a well-to-do guy. He doesn't really care about doing anything really because he comes from money. So he's just like a lazy elf, but he's got he's got a thing for like fast cars because of course he does. And he is a literal toad, by the way, because it's Disney. And so he steals a motor car. First of all, don't do that. They originally wanted this to be a roller coaster, and then they turned it into a dark ride. But you're touring the English countryside in a stolen motor car. You're trying to run away. You're trying to get away from the cops and everything. And there are in one of the in the newer incarnations, there's two tracks that you can go on. There's the right side and the left side. And during this, you're mostly encountering various scenes and countrysides from the Wind in the Willows animated adaptation. And, you're running into all of these, like, roads that have all these signs, like, turn back, don't enter, one way, and there's warnings and everything. But, of course, your car is only going towards these things and not away from them. And since you now in the newer version, there's two tracks. If they happen to leave at the same time, it looks like they're going to crash into each other, which is kind of fun and cool.
Yeah.
And you're just plowing around through all of these scenes and everything like that. You're causing a whole sort of a ruckus. And the ride ends with you on the train tracks, and you go to hell. Immediately after, it gets totally black, and you hit the headlights of an oncoming train or vehicle in the darkness, and you swerve out of the way to avoid it. And there's like a cop car that's going, and the cops are chasing you, and there's bumps and all these other things, and then eventually you crash into some. Eventually, it seems like you go through a crash door or whatever, and it seems like, okay, well, that's the end of the ride, and then you're in, and then the next thing you see are all of these, like, there's fire, then there's demons and torch and like pitchforks and everything, and you're like, oh crap. I died and went to hell because I got hit by the train. Maybe I shouldn't steal a car, nor should I drive it at 105 miles an hour. I'm in hell. I'm
pretty sure none of this appears in the Wind. I've never read The Wind in the Willows, but I'm pretty sure there's no part where they go to hell in the Wind in the Willows.
He doesn't go to hell. None of that happens.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen The Wind in the Willows, he pretty much goes on he pretty much steals a car, goes on a rampage, crashes it, and like the cops chase him or whatever, and that's about it. He doesn't die. He doesn't go to hell. He doesn't get hit by a train. It's like they just shoehorn that part in because I don't know why. And somebody must have just been like, we should teach him a lesson.
Yeah, if you steal, you go straight to hell.
You just go to hell.
And then Disney turned into the Catholic Church for the time.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read The Wind in the Willows, but I imagine that, I guess there really is no, and I haven't watched the thing in a long time, but I guess that there's probably no recourse for his actions. I mean, we already know that he lives in an estate, so he's wealthy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess it would seem that nothing bad happens to him, and like, it is Disney World, and they are trying to teach morals, or at least they did at one point. And now, but CEO Bob Chapek might show you otherwise, as the moral of the story is profits over people, or so it might seem. But it's that somebody was just like, there should be repercussions for stealing a car and avoiding the police. So, yeah, maybe let's just put him in hell. No what about the explanation? No explanation. He'll just go to hell, and then that's the end of the ride. Okay. It's the happiest hell on hell.
Happiest hell.
Happiest hell in hell. So, I don't know. I guess the happiest hell in hell would probably be purgatory or the first level, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Or the descent. I mean, are you in hell when you're in the descent, or do you go to hell once you leave purgatory? I have the Dante's Inferno book right here, and I think haven't.
No, it's not purgatory. It's limbo.
Time.
Limbo is the first layer of hell.
Oh, that's right. So level,
and it's just boring nothing because like it's not. It's like for people that were like born, like that were good people that were born. According to Dante's Inferno, I'm just going off of that. Take from this what you will, but apparently Limbo, the first layer of hell, is for people that were good people but were born before Christ, so therefore were not allowed into heaven because they didn't know that Christ was a thing.
Well, that's not really their fault.
No, exactly.
Like, if they came before it happened, like, they should get a free pass.
Well, according to Dante, they go to hell.
Well,
I mean, it's the first level of hell, and it's not bad. There's just, it's just plain.
That's still,
it's like living in Kansas, pretty much.
Well, that still blows. But
yeah.
Kansas may or may not be a godforsaken place. I would never personally say something like that, but I've been told that Kansas may or may not be a godforsaken place. Which,
well, I mean,
we go by
Courage the Cowardly Dog, and you would never want to go to Kansas because all kinds of crazy stuff happens there.
I'm sure it does. A lot of crazy stuff happens in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's the name of the town, not Kansas.
But there was Nowhere, Kansas.
But there is Nowhere, Kansas.
That was the town. It was Nowhere, Kansas.
Wow.
And Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Interesting. We should do an episode on that at some point, too.
Yeah, yes.
That would be a great one.
But anyway. An interesting little aside on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is Candace Larae, who's a pretty popular wrestler. She's currently I believe, free agent, but was, on WWE for a while and, is pretty big on the indies.
Yeah, she was on NXT with her husband, Johnny Gargano, who was also a free agent, and they left pretty much after they had a child.
Yeah.
For them.
But anyway, when she was on the indies, she actually used to be billed from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
That's great.
Yeah, because I guess he grew up near Anaheim, California, so went to Disneyland a lot and was her favorite ride at Disneyland. So
wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Oh, well, very good. You get to
anyway,
you go to hell, and also the demons say under the demon's teeth it says "Welcome" written in flames. So yeah, you're.
Oh God.
Yeah, you're definitely in hell.
Yeah.
Which is really funny. But also, just something very interesting in the current version of the attraction, minus the audio that they use from the Wind in the Willows, from the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride animated feature. Corey Burton voices every single voice in the ride, which Corey Burton he's a legend in the business. He's been on Ninja Turtles, and he's just done a plethora of projects. The man never stops working. Good for him. He's really great. Really great individual. But all right, moving on. This is where if you think hell was the start, we're gonna get into some other things too. The next one we're gonna speak about is Splash Mountain. Now, Splash Mountain is a lot of people's favorite rides as well. I mean, it's an awesome ride.
It is a very fun ride.
It's very fun. It's an epic log flume ride. It will get you wet. Most of it will get you wet. Every once in a while you don't, but usually you get pretty damn wet on that ride, and it's perfect in a place where you have 104-degree weather with 100% of the humidity.
Yeah.
Happiest place on earth. So you get wet, which is pretty damn good. But this, the ride itself should be great, and it actually is getting a reimagining. And
only recently, by the way.
Only recently, by the way. But the ride itself, it's based on the animated parts in the Disney film Song of the South, the 1946 movie, which we will get to in a moment. Where like our protagonist is Brer Rabbit. He's a mischievous little bunny, and the fox and the bear are trying to eat him, and he is he's mischievous, but he's also doesn't want to get eaten, so he does all these things to try to get away from them, and eventually he's like running away, and he gets to a point where his only escape is the briar patch, which is a big thorny bush of just thorns, and you don't really want to go there because it's going to hurt. So the fox and the bear are just like, oh well, we definitely ain't going to get him out there if we do that. Like, they catch him and they go to eat him, and then like he escapes, and he's like, well, I guess I have no choice to either get eaten or go in the briar patch. So he jumps out, and then there's a big song and celebration, and because it's in the bayou of Louisiana swamps and everything. Now that's not so bad. It's the rest of Song of the South that is pretty damn terrible.
Yes.
And on top of that, there is a part in the animated section that is really bad. Honestly, the movie has pretty much been disowned by Disney. The only time that it's ever been available in a physical medium has been when Disney released everything on VHS, because it was the first time that VHS had ever come into circulation. Splash Mountain, Song of the South is known for being incredibly racist, which it is. I've never seen the movie.
I've never seen it either.
I don't even know how you can watch. I'm
sure
the movie.
It's vaulted now. Yeah, I don't think it's possible.
No, it's pretty vaulted, like tight. It's basically destroyed. Like at this point, like I feel like the only way to see this thing is to hit up your local Klansman, which I do not ever want. Which, Jesus, I feel terrible even saying that as a joke. Like, I don't even know why. There's no reason to watch this movie. It is extremely racist and messed up, and it is not good in any way, shape, or form. There was it's like the movie is about these something called the Uncle Remus stories, which I'm not even sure what the hell that is, but Uncle Remus is this he's this fella in the South, and this takes place during the southern United States during the Reconstruction era, where it's just after the end of the Civil War and the abolition of slavery, and it's it perpetuates all of these myths, like the Sambo myth, which is the myth that the slaves were happy. So it's pretty damn bad. He's you got Uncle Remus living on the plantation, and it's very demoralizing. And he's just oh, I'm having such a great time. It's so great being in the South and not being white. Isn't this amazing? All these white people are so nice to me. And it's just, none of that was true at the time at all. And on top of that, it's just not only is it very historically inaccurate, it also is just completely insulting. And they did the movie, and it's mostly live action, just him going to town, and he's just oh, this is so nice. I love being in the South right after the Civil War, where half the people wish that I was still a slave, but it's so nice. And it's just awful. It's I feel dirty talking about this, honestly. But the people need to know that this is a terrible thing that does exist, and I'm not doing an episode on this. I'm just telling, the point is, this movie has been disowned by Disney, and one of the most offensive scenes in the animated section is one of the schemes that Brer Rabbit is using to distract the fox and the bear is he creates a look, I don't even want to say this. He makes a tar baby he makes a baby out of tar, and he openly is like, hey, it's a tar baby, and the tar baby is a horrible slur that people would use towards well, I think you could figure it out. I don't even want to say it. It's one of those things, like the whole movie, if you watch any section of it at all, it's just like, what were they thinking?
Yeah, I think a big problem with the movie is that it was, and the Uncle Remus stories were actually collected from like black folklore and stuff like that, and from like slaves that were passed down over the years. But I think the problem was that it was like a lot of the stuff in it was given different meaning by racist people, like later on, and so it's like the movie did not age well because of like a lot of like the context was completely lost and changed now, in modern times, and so they based the whole ride off, and the ride does have some like like not like overtly racist stuff, but kind of some caricature stuff, in it a little bit.
It does a little bit.
Which could not have, like, probably was not really problematic, like, at the time when it was made, but, like, because context has changed a little bit, it's kind of like, okay, it's getting a little... So, they could have changed it all along, because, like I said, well, the movie came out in the 40s, and the ride... came out well after that. It opened in 1992 in Magic Kingdom, so this was well after the movie had been disowned by Disney, I believe.
Yeah, so it makes even sense as to why they even made a ride out of this.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine that they made a log flume ride, but, like, it makes no sense as to why this couldn't have been something else to begin with.
I guess that they figured if they cut out the stuff that was considered overtly racist, they could have, like, gotten away with it.
I mean... I guess they did it away for a while, but it was just like, not a good look, guys.
No. And so, what I was getting to...
Whoever greenlit it is an idiot.
Well, not only that, they didn't decide to change it until 2020.
Yeah, it took this is the craziest thing. So the ride is becoming, they're going to reimagine it as a Princess and the Frog ride.
Yes.
Which, okay, better. Probably should have just never been based on this. Like, never should have been based on Song of the South.
They could have friggin' based it on, like, the friggin' Rescuers or something like that, and it would have been fine. Like, they had other movies to base it on. I don't understand why they did it on the Song of the South.
Right. If there's literally anything else that they could have turned it into. Hell, they could have even just made it, like... They have so many other Disney characters. It could have just been, like... I don't know... Donald Duck's Submarine Adventures or something stupid like that. It could have been literally anything else.
Yes.
And they just... I have no idea. I don't know who was behind the decision making at the time to do this anyway, but it was just stupid.
Yeah.
It is now being rethemed, thank goodness, to something much less offensive, or not really offensive at all. I actually really like Princess and the Frog.
I've actually never seen Princess and the Frog.
It's pretty.
But I've heard it's pretty good.
It actually is pretty damn good, and I like it because Keith David is he's the main villain. Who's the?
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like Keith David.
He's the witch doctor. He's pretty damn awesome in it.
He's an American treasure.
Yes, Keith David is great in everything. I can't wait.
Yes.
I can't wait until the Spawn episode in October.
Yeah.
We talk about him. Yes, just a little spoiler into things that we'll be doing down the road. But yeah, Keith David, he's amazing. And
wasn't Princess and the Frog was their last traditionally animated movie from Disney Animation Studios, wasn't it?
I believe so. It's very good.
Yeah,
very good. And they're retheming it, thank God, and we're going to get something really cool eventually, because Disney, they do great work. I really can't wait to see what they do with it. But it took the George Floyd murder for them to like decide, oh, we shouldn't have this as a ride. Like, so.
Or at least we have to change it. Like, it's, Yeah,
again, not a good look. And it's really because people were, like, noticing this ride, and they were like, wait, why the hell is that even still there?
And see, I didn't even know what it was based on when I didn't know it was based on Song of the South until you told me about it. So I think that's why. I think that's why they got away with this, that so many people thought, like, oh, Disney just made up these characters for, like, this ride, basically,
Yeah, probably. They probably just thought that it was, like, some new... A lot of people probably, like, didn't know, so they probably just, like... They probably just assumed, oh, it must be like some lost cartoon or something like that.
Yeah.
Haven't seen.
Or just like, characters they made up for that. Like, Pirates of the Caribbean was a ride before it was a movie, so why wouldn't this be a ride before it was a movie, That kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, it was,
No.
Yeah.
It somehow they managed to, like, keep the thing around for whatever stupid reason. It was, I don't know, it was really messed up. And, like the movie had pretty much been controversial ever since it went into theaters.
Yeah.
It was just not good. So, yeah, anyway, I don't want to talk more about Splash Mountain because it's...
No, it's a great ride, but bad optics.
Yes. Yeah, very bad. Part. Yeah, very bad optics. Just should have been anything else.
Yeah, the ride itself is very fun.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with the actual mechanics of the ride.
No, and and again, if you don't know the context of it, you're like, oh, it's just like these cute animal characters. Like, it's not like racist or anything, and they're singing and dancing and stuff like that. And it's almost like a dark ride. It kind of fools you to think, oh, it's just going to be a dark ride, and then you climb up the mountain, and like you're like, okay, and it's like a 56-foot drop into the water.
Yeah, I just don't understand why it took them this long to even consider doing it. Why it took something why it took something as crazy as like a racially motivated murder.
Yeah.
Like, freaking get a change.
I think that's just friggin', again, Disney trying to save face at that point. Basically.
Yeah, it's just too late. You should have never had this to begin with.
Anyway, let's move on to something.
Something a little lighter. The extraterrestrial alien encounter. Yeah, that's
before we go into this. Before we go into this one, I just want to say real quick on a side note, like honorable mention, Disney's Jungle Cruise. I've never been able to ride it because literally every time I've been there, it's been out of service. So really? Disney, get your shit together. Yeah.
Oh, I've ridden that thing tons of times.
I've never been able to ride it, so I just wanted to mention that as like a little aside there. Like, why does this exist if I can't even ride it every time I'm at Disney World?
Well, it sucks to be you, I guess. I mean,
I guess
the movie's pretty cool, actually. We liked it. We liked it.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but it's got Dwayne in it, doesn't it?
Oh, Dwayne? You're calling him Dwayne?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does have him in it. He is in the movie. It's pretty damn good. I liked it a lot.
Nice.
And also it pays homage to the ride pretty nicely, and there are little there's little Easter eggs from between that and the ride itself. So that's
cool.
It is pretty damn cool.
Nice.
But yeah, people who have gone to the park more recently might know it as as like the Stitch's Great Escape ride.
Yes.
If you can actually if you can even enjoy it, because that thing is broken down almost half the time. I think I've only been on it twice or 3 times. Once as extraterrestrial and 1 to 2 times as the Stitch ride. And
I've been on it once as each two when it was the extraterrestrial, and then once as the Lilo and Stitch one. And when I saw it when I was a kid, that's when I first saw it when I was 8. I was terrified. Like, I thought this was like the scariest shit ever. I'm like, what is this thing in Disney World? Like, everything else is happy, and this is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I thought it was
Like,
really cool.
It is cool. It was a cool ride, but I guess I was probably just too young to be on it. I think maybe.
I mean, the first time that I saw it, I was like, I thought I was probably around 8 years old too, but I thought that it was like I wasn't really scared by it. I just thought it was awesome.
Yeah,
because like as a kid, I was like, oh man, like I hope people get eaten. Like,
well. We should probably explain that this one is not like a ride. Like, you don't actually get in a car and move around. This is more of like a immersive, like 4D experience, kind of, where like you're sitting and you see like the alien breaks out of containment, like it's like in this like tube in the middle, and it breaks out, and then it like it's running around the room and it's pitch black and you can feel it breathing on your neck and stuff like that. So it's supposed to be like like almost like a sit down haunted house, I guess you could call it, where everything comes to you and like it scares you.
Yeah, it's pretty. I like it. I mean, it has like a binaural sound where it's just it was one of the, I guess this was some newer technology that they were using at the time with like 4D and things like that when they had first opened the ride, which was around like 95. So it was pretty. It was pretty advanced for its time of the rides that they were getting. I mean, now you have regular 4D, like the Shrek thing, or like the Bug's Life, what have you. This was like
the Bug's Life thing is similar to this. Actually, we went on. They have a new one in Hollywood Studios that's called Lightning McQueen's like driving academy or something, and it's cute. It's a nice little show, and the Lightning McQueen is very well done. It's like. Because it's like a full-sized car animatronic. The wheels move, everything moves on it,
sure.
And he like drives around the stage, and like the mouth is like a screen, so the mouth is actually animated, so it looks like he's talking to you. It's actually it's really cool.
Oh, that's pretty badass. I like that.
Yeah, but yeah, so Disney is known for these these like 4D experiences, basically. And
like basically, you get this like first you see this cute little alien, and they're like, oh, he's a cute little guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just fine, but just make sure that But we're still we don't know much about him. This is our cute little alien. Here he is in his little container. Look at how cute he is. And then, like, they have a power failure or something, and then they're like, oh, okay, let's turn those lights back on, and they turn the lights on, and the aliens escaped, and they're like, oh no, and they're like, oh, okay, no worries about it, and then like somebody like dies or something, or like somebody gets eaten, and then they're like, oh my god, this alien isn't cute at all. It's like really this like evil thing, and it like the power gets cut again or something like that, and they turn it back on, and you see the alien's true form. It's running around like screaming and breathing into people's headsets, and the bidirectional sound. It's like it's embedded into it's into your There's like speakers behind your seat, or like attached to your seat next to where your ears are, and it's moving in various directions. So it seems it gives you the sensation, since you can't see anything, that it's running or it's on top of you or whatever, and it pushes like warmer air, so it seems like it's breathing on you. It really, and you're stuck in the chair, so it creates this sense of claustrophobia and everything. And it was really cool. It was a really cool ride.
I will say it was very well done, even though I was like scared when I went on it when I was a kid. It was very well done. It's very realistic. You feel like really like there's a real alien there.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the ride ended like it was like it just was the wrong type of attraction.
Yeah, it didn't work in Disney World. There's not really that many scary rides. Even the Haunted Mansion's not that scary, And this was like a really scary. This is something you would see at like Universal or Six Flags or something, I think.
Correct. Like
it did have a very star-studded cast.
Oh yeah, I think it was the right ride for the wrong car.
Yeah.
But who was the cast behind this?
Jeffrey Jones is in it, who, he's a pretty famous actor. He was, the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Mm-hmm.
and Lydia's dad in Beetlejuice. Then also you had Tim Curry voiced one of the robots.
Of course he did.
Yeah, and Phil Hartman voiced the other one.
Also a treasure.
Yeah. And then you had also Kevin Pollak and Kathy Najimy were in it as well.
And you also had Tyra Banks as the female alien in the first pre-show video.
I didn't know that one.
Well, it's because she played the female alien. She didn't. Her lines are voiced by another actress, which is interesting. They had like a voice actress.
Oh, is this in the Stitch version of it, the Lilo and Stitch one?
No, I don't think so. It was in the Yeah, I don't think so. It's in the pre-show video.
Oh, okay.
But the video, but the attraction has since been changed, like we said before, to Stitch's Great Escape.
Yes.
Closed up the ride because in 2003, and it just wasn't going to work because it was just too scary. Children were crying in the happiest place on earth, so that's not good for the numbers.
No.
And we did end up having the Stitch's Great Escape, which is very different. It's a similar ride, except they made it goofy and hokey now. So
yeah,
instead of this alien trying to like escape and eat people and whatever, and like it's striking fear into the hearts of these children, instead it's just Stitch. Like he escapes from his pod, and he's causing mischief, and he's yelling his catchphrases into children's ears, and he's breathing on you, and he's licking you and everything, and then like spraying you with water so you feel wet. And it's a cutesy ride. It's a cutesy thing now.
Yeah,
they have a name for the type of it. It's called the Theater in the Round.
Yes, yeah, because it's like you're sitting around the middle attraction,
right? And they just do all these silly things, and it's a lot. It's much more kid friendly and adult friendly, and the reception has been much better. But they do have the cute alien from Alien Encounter. They actually do have it as part of the theater go round experience in the beginning, or it's in like it's either part of the thing as like a good disciplined alien that they're taking back home, or it's in one of the displayed cases as you leave the ride. I forget which, but it's much more well received. It's a lot better. I mean, now it's just like a Stitch Alien Encounter character greeting. Apparently they closed it in early 2018, and now probably because it broke down all the time. I've been to Disney a lot, actually. I've been to Disney like 4 or 5 times, maybe. And it's like most of the time that ride, that thing was always broken down, so they probably turned it into a character thing. But that's a fun one. I actually did enjoy it. I would say as an honorable mention, next door is it's not a ride. It's like more of like a little theater show, but you like it actually. It's the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor. I think. Like that.
Yeah, it was very good. Show. It was very funny.
Yeah, or like you just sit down, and because Monsters Inc. is now powered by screens, powered by laughter as opposed to screens. It's just like Mike and all the monsters doing like stand-up comedy essentially, and you sit down. And it's very
with the audience too. It's actually really cool. I was Sully.
Yes, they do. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a fun ride. It's legitimately funny too. Like they have good writers for the jokes. And it's cool because it's like the characters move in real time and talk. Like there's a person voicing the character, and like they use like a technology that makes the character's voice or like the character's like movements and mouth match whoever is voice acting. And it's so they do it in real time and they interact with the crowd and stuff like that, which is really cool.
That is cool. I didn't know all that.
Yeah, it's all in real time, and all the monsters look like they're actually talking to the crowd.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool.
We've got one more ride.
Yes.
That we're going to touch on. This is. I don't think that it's the weirdest ride, but I think it is one of the more interesting.
Well, I think we got to tie this in.
It just has a wacky backstory.
Yeah, and we have to tie this one in because we're doing, of course, another Truth or Whacked this week.
Yes, we are. I'm not going to cue the theme song up right now, but I will get it ready. I will get it ready.
All right.
But we are of course not talking. We touched on the Eurosmith ride a little bit when we spoke when we did our Revolution X episode. Now, this is not that ride, although that ride is pretty damn awesome.
I've never been on it, unfortunately.
The Eurosmith Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
If you can get it, if you can. Yeah,
it's hard to get on. It's one of the more popular rides. So
yes, it's almost always is just packed. But this also takes place in a limo, and it was originally supposed to be a faster roller coaster-ish type of ride, or like an indoor coaster, or just like a fast-paced, high-speed dark ride. And you are and the goal of this ride was to evade paparazzi because you're the rider, you're a celebrity, and you're on a wild, high-speed ride through Hollywood. And you were supposed to, meet then CEO Michael Eisner at a super secret location so that you can, you show up at LAX, you show up at LAX, and you're like, oh, you haven't signed your big contract with Disney, and I'll be waiting at the Chinese theater. But just make sure that you don't get caught by the paparazzi because somebody tipped them off on this. So we don't want people to know. So, what ended up happening was they changed it, and the ride has become Superstar Limo at Disney California Adventure, which is one of the floppier parks because there's very little Disney involved at all, or at least there was in the very beginning. And now I think they've since made the park a little bit more Disney featured of the Disney IP, where this one was just more or less, this is California, but it's also a Disney park. It happens to be a Disney park, where it felt like it just could have been any park except a Disney one. I think they've since incorporated more Disney into it. I think there's the hell is it? Not Victory something Springs. The from Cars. I forget.
Oh, Radiator Springs.
Yes, Radiator Springs. They now have that section into the park, so they've included a little bit of the Pixar stuff in Disney California Adventure, but in the beginning it wasn't really very Disney at all, and it was really just, it's California. But this Superstar Limo only stuck around for barely a year before they rethemed it to a Monsters Inc. ride, which is Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue. But Superstar Limo was supposed to be the wild high-speed ride while you avoid paparazzi. And, this would, just so that you know exactly what the it's going to be. This, Princess Diana ended up dying while she was escaping paparazzi. So it was in bad taste to continue the actual ride the way that it was intended. So they ended up slowing it down. They ended up gutting it and just turning it into a really lame dark ride where it was slow moving and you were in a limo and you were just meeting and you were just running into all of the celebrities in Hollywood.
Yes.
It was very, very lame.
So, which leads us into our truth or whacked this week.
Yes.
Why don't you cue the music?
Yeah.
All right. So, the reason why this ride had to be changed was, of course, because of the death of Princess Diana. Now, people have talked about Princess Diana's death, since it happened, basically. And, a big question is, was she whacked? You think the royal family had her whacked?
I think so.
I think so, too.
I think they absolutely whacked her because, you know more about this than I do. Like, you're a little bit more into the conspiracy theories and things like that.
Basically, it was after she divorced Charles, obviously, and that was a huge scandal for the British family because, you can't divorce. It's terrible. Even though friggin' Henry VIII divorced how many of his wives and beheaded how many,
Right. It's one thing when the man does it, but it's a whole nother double standard when it's like, when it's the lady, which, that's dumb. That's the way that family operates.
Right. And I believe at the time she was traveling with her new man, I guess. I believe who died with her.
His name was like Dodie or something like that?
I don't remember his name or, the details so specifically. So,
my mother was very much into it. Like
Yeah, my mother is obsessed with the royal family, so she could friggin' recite this probably what happened exactly.
Yeah, maybe we should put her on the show for this segment. Give her a call. Give her a call. Just wake her up at
she's probably wake her up at midnight. Morning. Oh, talk about this real quick.
This might be the one thing that she'd get out of bed for. So
yeah,
you never know.
Well, anyway,
every year when they do the thing, my mom is always the first. My mom and my aunt are always watching the celebration of her life on TV.
Yeah,
or they're buying the magazines, and it's and she's like,
well, people. Everybody loved Diana. She was
she was a wonderful person.
Yeah,
she was a very good person. But every year, my mom has the new Time magazine or whatever it is that tells the same exact story with very little to no new information. And and I'm like, Mom, why do you you have 30 of these things? And she's like, I know, but it's so sad. And I'm like, it is, but it's been 30 years. But
yeah, almost.
She was a very, very lovely person. And
yes,
everyone loved her except the Queen. Which sounds like a Disney fairy tale. That sounds like a Disney animated movie if I ever heard one.
Yeah.
Unchecked.
And
have a happy ending.
Well, this was the thing too, is that she was the one, she divorced Charles and was hugely successful after that. It didn't affect her image at all, but it really hurt the royal family's image because Charles, I believe the reason why they got divorced is because he was having an affair with the woman he's married to now, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So it was really bad look for the royals. It was a big problem for them, and everybody loved Diana. So there's that. Also, the father of Dodie.
Oh my gosh, they're on a coin. It was commemorated on their wedding was commemorated on a 1981 British crown coin.
Oh yeah, well, I'm not surprised about that. That's
That's pretty high level. My whole thing is you're not successful until you have an action figure of yourself. But this coin, this is a whole other thing. Once you're on money, forget it.
Yeah,
that's the echelon right there.
Yeah. There's been rumors basically since she died that it wasn't really paparazzi chasing them. It was, MI6 agents, and they got ran off the road, which, you could believe what you want, but that, everyone wants to believe, oh, the government would never do that to one of their own citizens, let alone someone so high profile. But it's that kind of shit probably happens way more than you know.
I'm sure it does. We had Kennedy. Kennedy was an inside job.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I think that, there is some merit to that. And especially the royal family is known for their, for dirty dealings in the past. So it wouldn't really be past them to do something like that. And the father of Dodi, the guy Dodi, who also was killed in the accident, has stated that he believes personally that it was MI6. So, take from that what you will. Could it be a mourning father, just like, looking for some answer? Maybe. But, who knows?
Yeah, it's pretty freaking dark.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that she had to have been whacked.
I think she was whacked.
Because, I mean, who else would, like, the royal family did not look good. They were basically embarrassed. And,
yeah.
Like Charles, I'm sure, was in the doghouse because it was like, how could you be so stupid and, like, get caught?
Yeah.
Where, he was in the doghouse for quite a bit, and then, but it was like on top of that, everybody already loved Diana, and then it was, so like everybody was already on her side, so it was a bad look for the family. So this was almost like, like, as far as I imagine they would view it, would be that this was like her taunting them, basically. Like, oh my God, she ruined, like, of course, they wouldn't, of course, don't put the blame on yourself. Of course, why would you do that? Why would you take responsibility for your actions? It's just, oh my God, look what she's doing. She's taunting us. People love her. They hate us. She's ruined our good name. She needs to go. Oh my God, she's moved on. She has a new boyfriend, and everyone is behind her. How could they do this? Like, we're ruined. So of course they were like, oh my, we got to do something about it. So of course, you got all the money in the world. So of course they perhaps get in touch with whoever they need to get in touch with, and the problem gets taken care of. She died in the tunnel, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. There's like no cameras or anything, so whether they got ran off the road and they crashed into a tunnel or MI6 whacked them, it's up for debate. But
yes.
I would think it sounds a lot more like a good old whacking to me.
Yes.
But who's to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the pieces, when they fall together, kind of, Then there was that, the big joke of like, what's her face, Meghan Markle now should watch her back because she might be on the Queen's hit list now too.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask that. Do you think they might whack Meghan?
I think she's next if she doesn't stop friggin' saying the things she says.
Yeah, I could definitely believe that. I mean, but also the other thing is there's two things that might keep her alive. One, she keeps having children. So, like, it's one of those things where they're like, oh, well, we can't do anything. We can't do anything if she has a young child or if she's like with child. We can't do anything. We can't do anything there. Two, we really, the public doesn't really seem to like her very much. So that
yes,
might also be keeping her up. That might also be keeping her up because like the royal family were like in the Diana situation, everyone was on her side and had like, turned their back on the royal family, where that was like a slight against them as far as they viewed it.
Yes.
Where it seems like a good chunk of the public does not like Meghan.
Yeah.
So if they already, if the public still views the royal family in a high regard and does not view Meghan in a high regard or a higher regard or anything, or really doesn't like her, then there wouldn't really be a reason to necessarily whack her. They could threaten just to keep her in line, but they don't necessarily have to, like, but because she's not really well liked, that they're just like, all right, we can just like wait this out. You know, we don't really have to do anything. Maybe Harry will come to his senses and divorce her. If he doesn't, then, then it seems like it's taking care of itself because like Diana also succeeded after the divorce, where Megan has not.
No.
Like, she figured...
Well, she's not divorced, but since they came out and divorced the royal family, quote-unquote, her and Harry.
Right,
basically.
But on top of that, it's like, she went back to being an actress, which she wasn't very good at to begin with.
No.
I mean, like, if you're doing Hallmark movies, you're pretty much scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, you're like a step away from porn at that point.
I don't even know. Is porn an upgrade if you're doing... I don't really know.
Well, maybe 2 steps. I would say daytime soap operas are probably a little bit worse than that, but...
I don't know. Have you seen their Christmas movies?
Yeah, they're pretty bad, so that's hard to say.
Every single time I have to go to every time we go up for Christmas Day, my Nona, of course, is around the holidays. She's got, for the most part, she's got the Spanish channel playing, so there's always telenovelas on, so regardless of what point in time I go into the house, either somebody's dead, somebody's pregnant, or somebody's back from the grave, or somebody has a twin brother or sister that happens to be played by the same actor, so it's almost as if they never left. They also share the same hobbies and interests, wouldn't you know? So there's all kinds of things going on, and there's always an affair. Something's going on.
Of course.
And of course, my Nona, in her old age of, at the young old age of 81, depending on who you are and what you think is young or old, she always gets these ideas in her head when certain things happen that she thinks that people in the house are conspiring to do that to her. Where, like, sometimes if she's off her meds, she'll say something like, "You're going to take me away, aren't you?" Or, "Oh, I know what you're up to," and it's like, we just asked you to go for a walk. Like, do you want to? Yeah, I know what a walk means. Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, sure, Dunkin' Donuts. Okay. It's like, I'm not going anywhere. And it's like, all right. Well, just so you know, I have a twin brother that you've never heard about, and it would be really interesting if he showed up right about now. He also looks just like me and shares my hobbies and interests. So when I go home, he'll be here, and it'll be as if I never left. But yeah, I always have to deal with either the telenovela, and then when it's the holidays, there's always the damn Hallmark Channel movies on.
Yeah.
And you can't, and if you've seen one, you've seen them all, and they're all terrible. It's always, so-and-so is from a nice, of course, we're always in a nice town.
Yeah.
Very happy town that's very, very into the holidays. There's almost no Jewish people if there's any, which that raises a flag or two.
Maybe Walt Disney approved them.
Yeah, I'm sure. and it's always the same. It's always, I moved into this town, or I'm in the big city, and I got a cool job, and everything is so great, and I'm so happy, and isn't this nice? And, oh, it's my ex, or, oh, it's an attractive person who just happens to move in, and they're talking to me, and we don't get along right away. And then somehow, or some other way, there's the stupid, mischievous friends who just are like, oh, they hate each other. Let's set them up. And somehow they get locked in a room together, or there's some kind of a thing.
It's turning into a Saw movie.
Honestly, I wish that these things were Saw movies.
See, that would be a good thing. You make it start out as like this Hallmark movie, and then it turns into a Saw movie. They get locked into a room together, and it's like all of a sudden now they're going to get murdered.
Oh my god! And that's how they find love. That would actually make sense, because they're like, we saved each other's lives and we're both traumatized. I think we're made for each other. Or at least we've been broken for each other now. So I would watch that.
Yeah.
But then, of course, none of that happens, and, there's a very minor situation where they have to work together, or then they're getting along. One finds out the truth, or that somebody's really of royal descent, or a president's son or daughter or something, and then there's some form of, oh my God, you lied to me, and it's like, well, I actually didn't lie to you. I just never told you anything. There's a difference. No, you lied to me. We're not talking anymore. And then somehow the stupid friends meddle again. They get them to see each other. Like, they invite them to the same restaurant at the same time, and they reserve seatings at the same table, and they sit down and they're like, oh my God, how could you be here? I hate you. Oh no, I hate you too. And then they see their two friends in the corner just like, oh, I guess they figured it out. And then somehow they laugh it off and they kiss, and then it's once again, everything is happy and grand and wonderful. There's nothing believable about these things, and the acting is hammy and terrible. And it's just dreadful, honestly. Whoever invented the Hallmark Channel movies, oh God, they need to be
whacked.
They need to be whacked, possibly just tied into a burlap sack and beaten with reeds. That's just something to just fix their brain, or just scare them into never doing something like this ever again. I hate them.
And on that note...
But where the hell was I? Oh, that's right. Megan was doing the Hallmark Channel movies to start. She was not a good actress. She married into the royal family. Somehow she seduced the prince. She got the prince. The royal family didn't like her, and she didn't like them. She gets the prince to, renounce his whole princehood and everything and all this money. Prince Harry probably has no clue he's just Harry now. We just call him Harold. Yeah. Let's just call him Harold. It's his title is just kind of pointless at this point, or lack of a title. Harold is just shucking it back over to America. He gets his severance money, but now the ex-duchess can no longer, she's moved up to the highest of high society. She can't go backwards in life. She still needs to live a lavish lifestyle. And who could blame her?
And the problem is now that she's part of the royal family, it's not practical for her to have a job anymore because it's a security risk for her to have a regular-ass job. So they really did not think this through at all.
No, they didn't. And she had to do all these things. And he gets the severance money, which is, I would take it. But of course, this guy has been pampered his entire life and probably doesn't understand the value of money.
Yeah.
He does. So she gets the house that she wants, and he's like, okay. They buy the house. The house costs nearly what the severance was. So now she's like, oh, well, that's okay, because I have all this prestige behind my name, so I'll just go back to acting and I'll get roles right away. Which she did, but she was still bad at them. If you're a bad actor, you're just a bad actor. It's just not good. It's sometimes it's just not going to work. And it didn't, and she, her stuff got dropped. She did, one or two things, and it didn't go well. It didn't perform well. And she's out. So then she got pregnant again, and now they have their children and what have you. But then she's like, Harry, we need money to pay for this house. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I'll get some more.
Yeah.
Well, what do we do?
Oh.
Well, someone needs to work. And he's like, what is that? So she's like, Harry, why don't you just call up one of your friends? And they'll just give you a fake job. Which they did. They gave him the fake job of the activist investing thing, or what is it, the climate officer?
I fucking don't know. It was something.
They made up some bullshit job for him, and they probably fired a bunch of people to pay him a ridiculous salary just to show up and, once in a while to, read a speech that someone else has written for him and pretend that he knows what he's talking about. and that's his job. He probably is never in the office. If he shows up, he just shows up once in a while to show face, and they just pay him to do things. I don't think he actually has any clue of what's actually going on, but because he's a prince or ex-prince or whatever, he's going to be set for probably the rest of his life. Probably not do much.
I mean, yeah. The thing is, though, like, even with a job like that, he's not going to make nearly the amount of money he would have been if he was stayed in the royal family that has, literally infinite money, pretty much.
Oh, absolutely not. But to sustain whatever the hell it is of a lifestyle that they have, and I suppose maybe that's good. I don't know.
You gotta wonder what she's got going for her that, like, made him renounce his fucking, like, royalhood, basically. She must be like a freak in the sheets or something. Like, absolute, like.
I wasn't gonna go there, but.
You got to wonder, though. Like, it's like.
It's very possible. She may have showed him things that a prince would never.
We have such delights to show you. It's like fucking like Pinhead, basically.
It's like Hellraiser.
Yeah.
She's a Cenobite.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well,
what did she, like, show up with a puzzle box?
Maybe that's why she hasn't been whacked yet. She's an immortal Cenobite, so
that's plausible. That's very
as long
plausible.
As the puzzle box exists, she'll exist.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that concludes our episode. We hope that each of you have enjoyed this and all of our very silly tangents.
Yes.
We covered
and let us know what you think. Do you think Princess Diana was whacked, or do you think that she just died in a car accident? Let us know in the comments.
Yes,
also,
please let us know.
Do you think Meghan will be whacked? Well, let us know in the comments.
Yes.
And just be careful. You might get whacked yourself.
Yes. So do it in a very discreet way. Maybe you even tell us by Morse code. I'm not sure. Tell us your thoughts and prayers however you can. Because if you're going to share your thoughts, you might as well start praying. But this has been Why Does This Exist? I have been Chris.
And I've been Rob.
And remember, question everything.
Good night, everybody.